About 60 million baby boomers refuse to leave a financial burden on their loved ones, but 70% of them have unsuitable life insurance or are unaware that it may expire. With final expenses significantly rising, don't leave your family unprotected. If you have an old policy or purchased guaranteed coverage, don't take any risks. Gain peace of mind with a policy review. Mention SeniorStrategies and it's free. Call Pivotal Life today at 561-412-5500. That's 561-412-5500, because family and legacy are worth protecting.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. It is Shane and Amy back with you. And today I'm so excited for our guest. We have Andy Cohen from Pivotal Life Insurance with us today, and I'm actually going to turn it over to Andy so he can introduce himself. Welcome.
Go, Andy.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Great to be here first off. Love your cause, love your mission.
That's
great. It's good to be on
Thanks.
the show, so I
Thank
appreciate
you
guys having me. So my name is Andy Cohen. I am the co-founder of Pivotal Life Insurance. We're a local life insurance agency here in Florida. We focus solely on seniors 50 to 85. We've helped a ton, and we have kind of a unique approach to it. It's really about education. We're going to get into some of that today. I hope I can answer a lot of questions for you guys. You know, I got into the business because I felt there was a big need for it. A lot of seniors just don't know who to talk to, who they can trust. So
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Baltimore, Maryland originally,
Okay.
been down here in South Florida for 15 years.
Wow.
And you know, my brother, who actually got me in the business, is still up in Maryland. He runs a branch office that we have up in Maryland for Pivotal Life Insurance.
Great.
as well.
Wonderful. So if you're not local, if you're one of our listeners and you're not down here in
That's
South
true.
Florida, but you're in the Maryland area, you
Check
can
out
reach out
Andy's
as well.
brother.
Yeah, exactly. So we are a family-owned business. Myself and my wife own the business now. We have about a dozen agents throughout the country, most of them placed here in South Florida, and of course we've got the Mid-Atlantic office as well.
Great.
Wonderful.
Again, thanks for having me.
So quick question. Insurance is quite often a very competitive industry. Unfortunately, I'm in real estate, and kind of like real estate, we don't always get the best rap, insurance salespeople. So I'm sure it's challenging, but how do you, when you're working with seniors, how do you build that trust? Because quite often,
There's a lot of scammers
our
out there.
seniors,
Yeah.
sometimes
Oh my
our
gosh.
seniors are really,
Unbelievable.
you know, kind of timid because of all the scammers.
They get targeted for so many scams.
So how do you build that trust?
Love that first question. I love it. So it's a great one. So you're absolutely right. Scammers, spam phone calls, nonstop, right? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we focus on education. We really want to make sure that seniors don't have anywhere to turn.
Right.
You know, a lot of times they're hesitant. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know what direction to go. So if they are sort of just curious if they could qualify for life insurance at this stage, or they want to make sure that the life insurance they've been paying into for years is going to be ironclad and their family's going to get the benefit that they planned for, they often just hope and pray. We don't want that to be the case, because if it does lapse, or it's not what they thought, or it doesn't perform like they thought it would, you know, the family's hung out to dry, and that's not the intention of life insurance. So what we do is really focus on education first, making sure they understand they can trust us. We do this through seminars, one-on-ones, really explain what's out there, explain the market, really make sure they understand you know, everything they need to know. A lot of times they're misinformed about their current policies. A lot of times, again, they just don't know where to turn to get the information. So really for us, it's education first, information, before we you know, try to hold anybody over the coals. That's not what we're about, and that definitely helps.
And so Pivotal Life Insurance, there's just such a wide variety of products that you can offer out there. It's been established for such a long time. There's so many other things that you could be doing, you know, new homeowners or different. How did your focus become seniors, and why?
It's another great question. We, it's true, we do, you know, the right annuities to help seniors plan their retirement and things like that. And we have a wide range of products, so we really can help anybody. But we just feel that seniors are the most vulnerable, you know, and they have the biggest need. I mean, if you've planned to have insurance at this stage of your life and it's the wrong policy, there's not too much time to fix it.
Right.
And it's sad to think about. Nobody wants to leave their family vulnerable. So what we do really is just focus on them specifically so we can make sure that they have the tools to properly plan. And again, we can help a lot of people. We have a wide range of products, but we just feel that the biggest need is seniors. You know, there's nearly 70 million baby boomers that are, I'm sure you guys know this, right? That are retired or retiring by the year 2030.
Right.
So with that huge market, and we feel like not many places for them to turn to get value, we just feel like this is the no-brainer. We're doing a humanitarian effort. We're glad to help. Allows us to sleep at night by doing it right. So that's why seniors is really our focus.
Wonderful. What's one of the most common issues or problems you see for the seniors that you work with?
Oh my gosh. So because they generally wouldn't know where to turn for advice, I mean, a lot of times they got a policy, decades ago, and the person that sold them the policy, they can only hope that it was the right policy, right?
Right.
And it's really sad to think about. That person that sold them the policy probably retired. They haven't heard from them since when they wrote the policy initially. So we find that the biggest problem is that they're not properly educated at the time they purchased their policy. I can't tell you, and I can quote some numbers, which I will, how many times people got an insurance policy and they don't know that it's going to expire. It's sad. It happens all the time. In fact, I will give you those statistics. It's about 7 out of 10 seniors that we talk to are either fuzzy on the details, unaware, or just have no idea how their policy actually works.
And what do you mean they get a policy that's about to expire? They get a new policy that's about to expire, or they have a policy that they have already that they don't know is expiring?
They have a policy that they have already that is expiring.
They get notification
that they've probably had for years.
You know, when you get insurance when you're 30 years old,
right,
there's not that much risk in it, right? You can have insurance that gives you peace of mind and peace of mind alone. And if it expires in 20 years, you got time to fix it, right? It's not the end of the world, right? Now it may be more expensive, but they sell term insurance that's temporary for people in their younger years. And a lot of times if they're not upfront, or the information is left out or not very clear when they purchase that policy, 30 years after they purchase the policy, it's going to go away. So if you're 60, 70, in those age ranges and you're retired, you just can't take on any risk, right?
So how do you fix that? How do you make that so now they trust you, and is this something that you can fix, or it's just...
It depends on the situation. Generally speaking, yes. We're really out to help identify those vulnerabilities. We want to make sure they understand what they purchased, look at the policy. There's so many different types of policies out there that people just don't know what they have. You go with a company that you trust, a big name company, well, they're going to write a different type of policy that may not be designed to be valuable in your senior years.
Right.
So you have to be a little bit cautious. And again, what we find is that about 7 out of 10 have some sort of a vulnerability. To answer your question, Amy, it can't always be replaced. It can't be fixed. But to identify that adds value, because if they can, try harder to protect the assets. I know when they're living on fixed income, there's not many options that they
you're not getting a
have.
text that says, hey, you got 6 months before your policy expires. They kind of hope you don't know.
No, and it's really sad. I mean, there's different types of policies, and what we find, 7 out of 10 think they have the right policy because they got it from a reputable company. They got it a long time ago. They've had peace of mind for years and years. Suddenly they're 75, living on fixed income, and there's not many opportunities to correct an error. So we try to proactively look at policies, do policy reviews for people, and just give them the proper peace of mind, or identify if there's an issue.
And if somebody wanted a free policy review, how would they do that? Who would they call?
All they have to do is call into our number here in South Florida. It's 561-412-5500.
One more.
561-412-5500.
And what do they need to have handy or available? Is there anything they need to prepare for you?
I get that question. We do so many of these policy reviews for people, and it helps a lot of people. And a lot of times people say, I think I'm good. They don't know that they can trust us to look at it and give us the right information until we build that rapport. And once we sit down, I can't tell you, almost every time they say, thanks for being a person, thanks for doing this for free for us. It's great. Very, very helpful. And they think it's a big undertaking, but it's very simple.
But that's because you know what you're doing. We don't.
I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not complicated for them either. All they have to do is, if they have a policy, it's great. I had somebody call me, I think it was last Thursday or Friday. I did a policy review for their sister, and they said, can you come out and help? And it was nice. She had 9 policies laid out for me.
Wow.
It's nice when they have the policies.
And
but
then
a
what
lot
do
of
you do with
times-
that? Combine all 9?
I can't tell you all my trade secrets. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You got to pay for that.
No,
Okay.
we're going to just evaluate them, look at the details, see if they're whole life, see if they're term life, see if they're universal, see if there's cash value in them. see
Most
if they-
popular being
Well,
Or the most sought
there's
after.
a mix.
the most sought after. Yeah,
The
maybe
most
that's
sought
better.
after would be whole life insurance. But again, it depends on your age range and what your goals
true.
are. You know, it really depends on your health. There's policies that are fully underwritten that require you to be super healthy. And then there's policies designed for seniors that I focus on that are whole life insurance that are designed for people on fixed income. They're actually affordable out there, and people don't know they exist a lot of times. They're just holding on to their MetLife policy they got in 1991, hoping that it's
Right.
okay. And so we really try to eliminate that. When they have the policy and they have it laid out on the table, it takes a few minutes. It's very easy for them. I read through the fine print, I explain everything, put everything down. A lot of times I'm just simply organizing their policies and determining what's good, what's not. If there's opportunity to save them money, I love that opportunity, because when you're living on fixed income and there's some opportunity to save, it's valuable, of course. But you know, a lot of times they don't have their policies. It's in a safety deposit box. If
Right.
their family has
Yeah.
it, it's up in New York with their son. That happens all the time.
And some policies, after a certain amount of years, can't they borrow off that if they want to?
Absolutely, absolutely. So
And that's considered what kind of?
that's whole life insurance,
That's whole
and that's
life.
also universal life insurance, which I
Okay.
can get into. You know, the last point about the policy review, a lot of people are hesitant to do it because they can't find their policy and
Yeah.
they don't want to go digging through the closet. That's okay. What I tell people, it's not a problem. Let me come over, have one of my agents come over, we look at if you don't have the policy, it's a phone call. And it's really valuable because we call the carrier together. And we're a team.
That's nice.
And we're
Right.
a team, we work as a team, we determine, I ask the right questions, and generally speaking, I'll get somebody that's customer service from the company on the phone, and they realize, this guy knows what he's talking about, right? So they want to be very cautious and give us all the right information, and then we'll take the notes down and know what you have, and then we can sit back for a minute, look at where they are in life, evaluate it, and determine if it's good for them or not.
But your biggest challenge is what? What did you say? What would you say when you go into a home? Like, one of the biggest issues or the biggest challenges that when you sit down is what? Probably that they're
That they don't know
They
what
don't
they
know.
have. They
Exactly,
don't know where
Shane.
it is. They don't know.
Yeah, they don't know what they have, and they think, you know, if you get a policy from a Prudential or a MetLife, these are massive
Yeah.
companies, right? A New York Life, which is actually offered through AARP. So, you know, people have
right.
some peace of mind knowing I'm good, I'm set up, I'm with a big company, I've got the right policy. But the person that sold the policy doesn't always share all the information, and if they did, it could go right over their head. So, so the biggest challenge, I think, you know, once I'm in front of them is oftentimes, and this is the sad part, being the bearer of bad news. Yeah. And that's really the part I hate about the
Especially when
business.
they realize what they've been paying or what they bought is not going to benefit them after all of these
Yeah.
years, and
It's true. It's really
that
true.
breaks my
So,
heart. That breaks
yeah.
my heart.
I know one of the issues that I had with my father, he had passed away unexpectedly, and he was sick and in the hospital for a long period of time, and he didn't pay on that policy for a couple of months, and then he passed away. So he paid on a $350 whatever thousand, and
then
That's really sad, especially
we pulled it
because-
open. We're like, oh my God! So
Yeah.
we even said we tried getting an attorney saying he was sick. He wasn't
Right
making the right
mind.
decisions. They were
didn't
like,
matter.
too bad.
didn't matter.
Yeah, you know,
It was sickening because that left my mom with almost nothing. I mean, he had paid on this thing for 50 years. He passed away. It was in the hospital.
And then you
Didn't pay
couldn't
on
use it.
He was in default of 2 months, and they would not.
So, Shane, Amy, I'm sorry, that is common. There's something called
it?
an automatic premium loan provision that all policies have. And all the agent had to do, and I don't know the situation, I'm not blaming the agent, I don't know the guy, but all he had to do,
Can
generally
I tell you
speaking.
who he is and name of the company? No.
Yeah, I'll go get him. Let's report him. So it's a checkbox. If you check that box, the cash value that you grow is used to pay the policy during those times. So I make sure that's explained.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah, so when I do the policy review, I'm going to say, hey, there's no automatic premium loan provision. At this age, people end up in the hospital. Right?
So
they
it's
end
a
up not
box
being
they
able
check
to pay.
off, and if something happens and they're in the hospital, because we've had a couple clients even with that too, that, oh my goodness, my dad's been in rehab for 5 months. He hasn't paid on any of his, so it's just a box that checks off. And
that the agent has to do when he writes the policy. It's an option. Well, they really should, unless there's a valid reason. There may be reasons they don't as well. But it's something that's discussed when they sell the policy, and when I do the policy review, I identify that and say, "Hey, be aware of this. This is something important."
Who wouldn't want that?
Yes, but if you don't know to ask for it,
I wouldn't even know.
So now all of our listeners and viewers out there, now you know what to ask for.
They wouldn't even have to ask. The agent, if he's doing it right and wants to sleep at night, right, like I do so well, is going to actually take the time and explain. You don't have to worry about this. This is how this works. It's a free provision. It's a rider. It's included with your policy. And those are the kind of things that slip through the cracks, and that's why we identify them through policy reviews, and just the transparency goes a long way.
I think my parents were young, I'm sure, when they first got that policy out, and then he paid on it for 50 years, never thinking that anything like that would happen. Because you're not thinking, we're 30.
It could have been a term policy. The term policy doesn't have that cash value, so term policies are
so
completely,
it's only the whole
completely
life.
different.
I see.
And this is why you need a professional, right? I say this when we talk about Medicare, when we talk about Medicaid.
Yes.
There are so many industries out there. Please turn to a professional.
Yes.
Please don't turn to the internet. Please don't turn to the web.
And again, so if they want a free, they call.
Free policy review.
They call us at Pivotal Life Insurance. It's 561-412-5500. You'll talk to one of my agents. You may talk to me, very likely, and just tell us what you need, and we're happy to help. 561-412-5500.
Good.
Awesome.
And we're coming back. We're going to have
back
a commercial.
after a
We're going to
commercial.
pick your brain a little bit more.
Great.
Hi, welcome back to Senior Strategies. We are having so much fun, and we are
learning so much today.
Yeah, we've already learned a lot. So there's a lot that Andy Cohen with Pivotal Insurance has taught us, and we are going to pick his brain for a few more minutes.
Great.
So there's a lot of different policies out there. Can you explain a little bit of the different types of those that are available specifically for our seniors?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it's funny you asked that, because a lot of people I talk to don't know that there is whole life insurance available to them. And it's really sad. They think, oh, it might be too late. Well, there are products designed for 50 to 85-year-olds on fixed income. So those are, whole life products that pay out forever, give guaranteed payout, and people get those, seniors get those, to make sure there's no financial burden left on their family. Nobody wants to stick their family, considering the cost of funerals these days. My goodness, it's out of control, right?
Yep.
So, it protects your assets, and you don't have to worry about that. There's a way there are policies out there that allow you to make sure that that's solidified. Your plans are made, and they're affordable for seniors, and a lot of people don't know that. So whole life really is the way to go for seniors, and I help a lot of people find the right plans based on their health and their age.
What's your approach to tailoring these life insurance plans for our seniors who might have maybe even some health conditions?
So, everyone's different, of course. We're fortunate enough that we work with 16 A-rated carriers. So many names that big insurance companies out there. And as a broker, I help people and I identify the right plan for them. So that goes very far. But, generally speaking, 50 to 85-year-olds, they want to get something that's guaranteed. So whole life insurance, there's a few exceptions. I mean, just the other day, I have a client, such a sweet woman. She's 60 years old and healthy, which is great to see. And she took a final expense, a whole life insurance policy. She's got 4 children. And she said, I gave her $50,000 whole life insurance. I was in her budget. She was very happy. And she calls me a couple of days later. She says, I just want more. Well, these $50,000 policies and lower are done generally without medical exams these days.
Oh.
They don't have to worry about qualifying for them. There's still some medical questions, but if they're healthy enough to qualify, we can get them set up with immediate first day coverage. They don't have to worry about the medical exam and the whole process. But she calls me a couple of days later. She says, "Hey, Andy, thank you. You're great." I says, "Everything okay?" She's like, "I just want more." So what we did was we gave her, because she's 60, we were able to get her a 20-year term insurance. Term policies end. So in her case, we were able to give her a $100,000 term policy that was affordable for her. And after she turns 80, if she's still with us, God willing, then her 4 children have the $50,000 whole life that's going to be in place forever to fall back on.
Wow.
So every situation is a little bit different. Generally, I'm working with seniors on fixed income, and I know money's not falling out of the sky.
What's the oldest client that's come to you looking for insurance?
I have, I wrote somebody just the other day. So it's a nice gentleman, 89.
Wow.
89-year-old gentleman. Yeah.
Wow.
And at 89, he's deciding, I should probably get some
He
life
said, I should have done this years ago.
Wow.
And he looked at the
Right.
premium and said, this isn't too bad. It's better than I thought, but
Right.
it's a lot cheaper if you're 60.
Of course. Of course.
What is the most challenging review you've ever done, and what did you do to help?
Well, I guess to answer that question, I have to talk about universal life insurance. Because universal life insurance is a different kind of animal. And I'll take a step back and I'll tell you about, these are things that I teach and I talk about all day long. But in a nutshell, I'll summarize, there's 3 main types of life insurance. There's term life. Term life is ideal if you're in your primary earning years, if you have a mortgage, young children, and you need some income replacement for the what if. Term life insurance is there for you. So it'll give you a term of 20 years, 30 years, and if you don't pass within that time, then it's gone. There's no cash value. There's no other value besides the peace of mind or, heaven forbid, a death claim, right? So after that time frame, it's over, and there's no cash value with that, so they can't borrow from it. It's just gone. You can't call, it's very similar to car insurance. I can't call Geico and say, hey, I didn't get in an accident last year. Can I get my premiums back? You can take out your costs. I'll just take that. It doesn't work that way. So that's term insurance. It's designed for younger folks. Unfortunately, 98% of term policies just don't pay out. The rates also may increase periodically throughout the term. And they don't give you term insurance past the age of 80.
So once it expires, they come to you and you realize, okay, I'm still around. What do you do?
I hopefully have done a policy review years before it expires and say, hey, this is what you need to know.
I see.
So then there's whole life. Whole life is permanent. It lasts forever. It's the only one that's actually permanent. And it builds
lasts
cash.
your whole life.
Exactly.
Right?
That's exactly right. So, and the two really shouldn't be both called life insurance, in my opinion, because people say life insurance thinking they can lump them all together, but that's not really the case. They're so different. But whole life has cash value. It lasts forever. The rates never change. It never expires. It's always going to be the same, and it's guaranteed.
And how long do you have to have, or all the policies are different? How long do you have to have whole life before you can have a cash out? How does that work?
It depends on your health. So you've seen Colonial Penn commercials, right?
Yes.
Gerber, these companies, those companies are called guarantee issue companies or guaranteed acceptance. And you know, the Colonial Penn commercial is a great example. You see it 37 times a day, right?
Right.
And the guy Jonathan steps up there and says, there's no medical questions, there's no exam, everyone qualifies if you're 50 and 85, between 50 and 85. The problem is there's a 2-year waiting period. And it's never $9.95, by the way. Anybody that has that will tell you. I replaced one last night, actually, for a gentleman, had 2 Colonial Penn policies and said, oh, I'm good to go. I looked at it and I said, well, one is 2.5 years old. The price is just way too high. It's not $9.95. And he said, no, of course it's not. And the second one was only because they call you and they try to add more insurance and they give you more opportunities to buy more. And unfortunately, his other policy was a year old and he's within that graded waiting period. So you pay in for 2 years, and if you die of natural causes during that time frame, you get your money back plus interest. But there's no death benefit.
I was going to say, what do you mean by 2-year wait period? But it's that. So if something happens within the 2 years of getting the policy and you pass.
You get your
And a
money
lot of-
back, but you don't get.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't know that. And that's so common that's actually the standard. You have to have somebody like me come out to the house, find out about your health, see what you qualify for, find the right product, and then be able to offer you first day coverage. So my goal is obviously to get somebody the best rate available, the most immediate coverage available, and the most bang for their buck.
And first day coverage, you leave their house and at 4 o'clock they've got coverage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just
As
you know,
opposed to waiting, as opposed to a 2-year waiting period.
yeah, just a couple hours ago. Earlier today, I left there at 3:30 to hustle back over here, and really, really nice guy I worked with. He had a Gerber policy, and it was great when he had it as a child. Right, he's got Gerber. He's got it on all of his grandkids. It's phenomenal. I'm an agent for Gerber. I know these companies. I know them well. But unfortunately, when he decided it's a trustworthy company, I'll take a policy on myself. That Gerber for adults is a guarantee issue carrier, so there's a 2-year wait. So when I looked at what he had and said, hey, you know, you only had this for a year and a half. You don't technically have a benefit. He said, oh my gosh, thanks so much for questioning me.
Right.
So so we're able to replace that and actually get him about 25 to 30% more coverage for the same exact premium. He's super thrilled.
And Gerber is the one you can give to people like as a baby gift, right? They
Exactly.
have a baby.
And that's why it's so popular. You get it as a baby and you think, okay, I'm good. It's a good, reputable company, which it is. And they'll pay the claim. There's no issues there, but there's not a one-size-fits-all is my point. You really have to look at the health and determine the best program for that individual. And when you take the time and you put the TLC into it and you have a range of options, you can find the best coverage.
But most don't. Like you say, if you want to sleep at night, there's so many instances that we have, even with like a long-term care insurance, where we have to go into the home and care for the person. We've had insurance companies for a woman that was 100 years old and legally blind, but she could still cover her ADL. She could still cook. She could still take a shower. Denied her claim. Denied her claim. She couldn't get it. So those are that you think, wow, but you have your heart into it. Like, to tell them to check the box if something happens.
Of course.
You have to be in the.
That's why you need a professional. That's why. One more time, again, please, your phone number so our listeners can reach out.
It's 561-412-5500. And yeah, Shane, you need a professional and somebody that puts the time into it and really cares about getting you the best option and evaluating what you have and taking the time to do so. Because there's another policy also called Universal Life. And that, unfortunately, came out in 1979, and in the 80s and 90s, 25% of the policies sold were Universal Life. And the MetLife and the Prudentials and all these investment companies that do those types of things, they sell those products, and those products aren't ideal for seniors because they're not whole life. And even though they have these nice high death benefits, and if you get it early enough, affordable premiums, they have cash value also. They're sort of a hybrid, but they're not permanent. So,
meaning what? So after a period of time.
And it's a variable product, so it's based on the economy and the interest rates.
But that's the one that can change. Your rate
exactly.
can change.
So people get that because it's a commonly sold product. I mean, I'm working with a gentleman. I mean, I've got tons of stories, but poor guy. I mean, he's got a $300,000 universal life policy. He got in 1987. I looked at it and said, based on an illustration and how it's performing and the interest that goes into it, once your cash value runs out, your policy is virtually expired. You can pay the cost of insurance, which is through the roof. In this guy's case, he was paying about $200 a month, which wasn't a cheap policy. He's got 6 kids, between 6 kids and grandchildren. So he wants to give $50,000 per when he leaves as a nice legacy to leave behind. And we find out that his policy is 77, not quite so healthy, so it's challenging. But his policy is going to expire in about 3 years. Maybe
so when you
3.
say the cash value runs out, it's when it expires.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now
so it's going to expire in 3 years. He's got these kids that he wants to leave $50,000 to. So what's he going to do?
We're working on. We came up with a good solution. He's actually, because it's got cash value, every month your cash value goes down. It's used to fund the policy.
Right.
And it basically covers what your premium can't. He can't pay $200. He's paying $200 a month. In order to keep his policy alive once it expires, he won't have any cash value left. But also, it's going to cost him about $1,100 a month. So to answer your question you asked me earlier, what's the hardest part? Sometimes breaking that bad news.
Yeah.
That's hard when you're working with these seniors, and so many of them that we've seen, like you said, the baby boomers, and they've worked so hard for all these years.
But then
They've
don't look at the
paid,
policy to know.
And they don't look at it, and they're caught off
Right.
guard and in the hardest time, right? Often when they're sick or after they've passed, and now their family has to deal with this, and here they think that they've taken care of everything.
Right.
This
Which is what happened with my dad. We had no idea. He passed away very unexpectedly. You know, had everything in the safe. We pulled it all out, and we were like, oh my God.
Right.
There's nothing here.
And they tell you, right?
We
I
didn't
think you're
know.
supposed to review these policies, what, every 5 years, every 3 years, every 2 years?
So speaking of every 5 years, you need to have somebody that reviews them. So you know, for any listeners out there, if you get a cash value statement every year, please call me. 561-412-5500. Absolutely, because you know the big companies, the MetLifes and the Prudentials and these big outfits, that's what they've given you, and you
Right.
feel good having it,
Right.
but it's not permanent. You need to know how to use your cash value.
Right.
You need to be able to, and the cash value statement that unfortunately nobody reads, almost nobody. You know that's going to have the information on there, and I'd be happy to come over and help. You know,
But
sift
any
through
legal
that.
papers. So you've got power of attorney, you've got healthcare surrogates,
Yep.
you've got life insurance, you've got, and again, we were talking about too, is very often you may have somebody that's going to be the beneficiary to something that you have that you don't even know that person anymore. Or you might
their
not even
bond,
like them.
Or that might have been a parent or a sibling who is no longer alive.
Or guess what? They're not your friend anymore.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we have issues
Yeah.
too where they're just, we don't like them anymore. I'm not going to have
That's
them.
why
you got to review that.
You
Yeah.
have to review all of your forms, and you have to review them with a professional. I
Yes.
cannot stress that enough. We've had elder law attorneys on here.
Yeah.
We've had different types of attorneys on here. Now we have Andy. I know that sometimes people are scared, whether it's either they don't want to find out or they think it's going to be expensive to meet with an attorney or to meet with Andy. He's going to come over
I'm
and review
gonna
your
do this
policy for
free.
free, right?
I'm gonna do it
Which
free
is
for
even
you
better.
guys.
So there's no excuse. There's no excuse. We want you and your loved one, you and the caregiver, you and your loved one, to be prepared.
But seniors, I think, are such a target for scams, and they're
Oh.
very insecure about who to trust and not trust, and
Well,
so they're
Right.
afraid to
It
have
goes
those looked
farther
at.
than that. You know, it's not necessarily. Yes, that's true, and that's so sad to me. But
So sad.
But it really is, and it's not right. And it's very gratifying when I help somebody and they realize, oh my gosh, I can trust somebody. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And then I get a ton of referrals to their family members.
course.
That's the nicest compliment anyone can give me. And it happens all the time, so it makes me feel really good.
Good.
But you know, the other problem is that there's scammers and there's a ton of issues out there, and people don't know who to trust. But at the same time, when you go with a New York Life AARP, right? That product by New York Life is marketed by AARP, so these seniors get tons of mailers from Mutual of Omaha and Physicians Mutual and Globe Life and all these mailers, and they see the Colonial Penn commercials all day long.
All day long, the
It's
commercials.
extremely overwhelming, right? But when you feel like you can trust a New York Life AARP, you feel you should be able to.
Right.
But what they sell and what they offer is term insurance, and every 5
Only.
years, that's what they
Oh,
offer. Now,
only.
at some point, they may be able to convert that for you into what they call a permanent policy, which is not technically whole life, but that's a technicality. Either way, when they convert that for you, it's not the cheapest. There's definitely more
That's what I was
affordable
going to say.
options
If they're
out there.
taking term and converting it into something else, you're probably
Yeah.
paying a high.
And the worst part is the term insurance that you have through those years, every 5 years. I mean, I just worked with Herman yesterday, super nice guy, and his wife. Meeting with his wife tomorrow to fix her policy. But they had New York Life, AARP, and when he got his at I think 62, it was okay. But when he turned 66, the rate went from, I think he was paying $62, suddenly it goes up to 94, I believe it was.
yeah.
And then when he turns 71, it is going to be like 150, and then I think at 76 it was going to be 230, and then at 80, because his term insurance, it's gone.
But I'm sure he didn't know that signing up, and so we're so happy that we could be on our
course not.
program just to give us some insight on this. And again, everybody should. I'm calling.
I'm signing
you.
up.
I'm calling you. I'm calling 561-412-5500 because I got mine almost 20 years ago. I'm not even sure if it's term or whole. I don't know what it is.
You're
I
part of
don't think I checked any box off that said.
You're part of the 70%. That's why I
Yeah.
tell people, please call. Don't take anybody's word for it.
Yes.
We're doing this free for your listeners, so I'm glad to do it.
Wow, we're so happy that
Please
that you
reach
found
out.
us and we found you, and you're
Yes.
able to help us out. And that's what the show is all about. I think the tools and strategies for the caregiver, whether you're a caregiver or a senior looking for tools to stay on your
Guidance,
journey.
knowing what questions to ask,
Right.
knowing who to reach out to.
Right. And, you know, each show we have a really great group of guests. I think next week we have who?
So next episode, we have Howie Weinstein, who's going to be here talking about home safety.
So he does home safety, and he was a professional basketball player?
I don't remember.
Okay, sorry,
You're asking
Howie.
me?
I think it's you were
I
a
need a mosh
professional
bar. I
basketball-
can't remember. And we have Ron Radcliffe from Senior Helpers,
Yep.
and they are going to be talking about their signature assessment that they do to assess if a senior's home is safe for them.
Right.
And then we have Howie here to explain how he can go in and make that home safe.
Right.
So that's going to be our next episode.
It's a personal home assessment that they go in. They look to see where are they storing their medicines? Where are they close to maybe the cleaning supplies? Do they have rugs in the house that are slippy slidey? What is the bathroom setup? Most injuries happen within the bathroom. So they go in and do this whole plug and play home assessment. They can show the family, and then Howie
can go in and make it safe.
How to keep your loved ones out of the hospital.
Yes, that's
really
our
that's
goal.
the biggest thing.
That's
is
our
keep them
goal.
out of the hospital.
Yep.
One of the things we love with our senior strategies is we have a branch off of 2 support groups. And so we
Yes.
have one at Allegro
We have an Allegro support group, which is the third
Thursday of the
every
month at 3 o'clock at Allegro in Boynton Beach. And now we have a brand new one at Harbor Chase
Yep.
on Military.
in Boynton Beach. And our first one there is going to be August 31st. And to RSVP and reserve your spot, you're going to call 561-228-8355. 561-228-8355. And that is a caregiver and family support group. Anyone is welcome, so spread the word.
It's a beautiful brand new building that's just opening right now on Military in Boynton. It's called Harbor Chase. That one is at 2 o'clock. And that is the last Thursday of the month. The one at Allegro is the third Thursday. That one is at 3 o'clock. So we hope that you can join us for that. We hope that you can join us for our show next time with the guests talking about safety in the home and how to keep your loved ones out of the hospital. Again, we've really enjoyed having you.
Thank you so much, Andy. You taught us so much today.
Yes, there is so much that you were able to fill us in on. And, you know, it's one of those things, unless you talk to a professional, you don't even know those questions to ask. And sitting here talking to you, I didn't think of half the questions that I would until you started talking about it.
You're not the only one. It happens again 70% of the time. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to help.
And if you're in the Maryland area, you want to look up Pivotal Insurance in Maryland, where your brother is.
Yeah, so my brother, it's a family business. My brother runs the office up in Maryland. And you can find us online. Down here in South Florida, it's the same as the Maryland. But it's insuranceispivotal.com.
Pivotal.com.
And again,
Insuranceispivotal.com.
and again,
I see.
insuranceispivotal.com.
Gotcha,
If you just
okay.
want to peruse the website,
Good.
plenty of information about our office down here. And again, if you want to call, I'm going to throw out the number again. It is 561-412-5500.
Well, thank you so much, Andy, for being here. And thank you to our listeners. And remember,